let's go through the morning note. Okay, so here's the morning note I shared today. And I just want to read through some of it, right? So, and if you've read it already, I'm not going to belabor you with all the fine details. But the TLDR is we're consolidating, and there's a lot of reasons why to think the market can go up from here. There's technical strength. So you just look at charting individual names; they just look really strong, right? Like there's a lot of charts that look really strong. Whereas 2 weeks ago, you really had to try hard to find strong names. Okay, so technically, a lot of charts are setting up. Um, there's always been a focus on the S&P 7 versus the S&P 493, right? With the big tech driving all the returns in the S&P 500, lack of breadth, et cetera, et cetera. Well, okay, not anymore. IWM is setting up for a major breakout. And let's just kind of look at the chart really quick to talk through that, right? So look, and by the way, I'll caveat here. I still want a little move down, by the way. So I'm not saying today full port 0 DTE calls. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying in the next week or two, this is what I expect. Okay. But anyway, look at IWM. So IWM is kind of kissing above all-time highs right here. Kissing into, that's kind of a weird terminology, but we'll use it. Kissing into all-time highs here. It has this nice look, right? So we had this breakdown. You can kind of draw a trend line there to see the breakdown. And then you have this big volume recovery. And then, across the board, volume was lighter last week with the holiday. And it honestly has been a little light this week. But absent of that, we have this nice consolidation here and what appears to be a breakout, though the volume, again, I'll admit, is a bit lighter than you want to see. However, the chart is a chart and it looks good. I would not focus too much on volume. If you focused on volume, if you overanalyze volume, you would have been shy about kind of trading these candles too, or this candle here, right? So it's just it is important, but it's not the end all be all. So anyway, okay, let's go back. Right. So you have, and then yesterday, right, you had Trump before the market opened talk about making, I forget the exact terminology, but basically bullish on robotics, making a more of a focus on investing in that space. And then you just had spec beta names just go insane yesterday. So you had, I mean, you had Serve, you had RR, you had all the robotics names flying, you had ARBE, these battery names, and then SPCE, so Virgin Galactic, you had PDYN, you had all these names just kind of going insane mode. And the charts look good, right? Like let's just quickly charts, right? So Space, Virgin Atlantic, like look at this volume pickup right here, right? So you have this breakdown, whatever, it's a shit code, right? So you're going to have a harder time trading it. Or it's going to go down, but look at this volume pickup, right? So we have this recovery, big volume, right? And so that's very telling. You have AirBE, battery name. Look, this one's the most interesting to me right here, right? So you have this insane volume right here. That really is painting a picture to us going to this name going higher. I'm watching it above 161. It looks good. If you want to know why 161 matters so much, well, just kind of peel the layers back a little bit. Look a little further in time. You can see it's a big supply zone. So we need to flip that into demand, like it tried doing here, and then it kind of failed down, right? So overall, that looks really good. Okay, so what else do we care about? CTA flows. I wrote this article last on the 23rd, right? I wrote this article on the 23rd. If you haven't read it yet, I definitely recommend you do. The article basically talks about why we saw so much selling pressure from basically through the month of November and how that selling pressure is now relieved. So if you haven't read this article, read it. It's linked in the morning note. And again, the morning note is totally free. I will put it in the chat. Putting it in the chat. And by the way, if you guys want to engage, say hi, ask a question, please do so in the chat. And then quantitative tightening ended on December 1st, right? So that's another headwind that's just removed. So we have CTA headwind removed where there was constant programmatic selling. We have the quantitative tightening kind of call it a headwind removed. We have betas going gnarly. We have small caps about to break out, and we just have technical strength across a lot of different names. And you have this momentum sectors, right? So like, what's really interesting to me? What's really, really, really interesting to me is that you have consumer discretionary. So you have like retail and restaurants actually looking really good, where it's kind of contra to this narrative of weak consumer and all this stuff. So you say, okay, like what names look good? Well, I hate to say it because I actually hate the company. I think it sucks. But if Lululemon can get through 186.80 ahead of earnings, it can move, right? It can move. The other one that caught my attention is D-Nut, so Krispy Kreme, right? It's not ready yet, but it's starting to look good. So you have this. It just needs some more volume, but it can push up. It looks good. You have this push up, consolidation, right? If you want to know what that move looks like perfectly, B-Fly, I just posted about this one. Like this one is a very noisy name, right? These are like 8 to 20% moves, but this is like pretty important, right? In terms of like how to read volume and how to read charts. You have, look at the green bars here, right? So this is volume. And when you have a bigger bar, it's more volume, lower bar, less volume, right? So big volume, push up, low volume, consolidation, big volume, push up, big volume, push up, big volume, or medium volume push up, and then low volume pullback, low volume pullback, low volume pullback, and then boom, big volume push up. Like B-Fly will go higher, pretty sure, right? Looks really good. Okay, and then let's go back to the morning note. Market's going to open soon. So let's talk about our SPX game plan, right? Because I think that's pretty important today. So what's the outlook, right? Like if you look at the GEX profile, you can kind of basically see this high, like there's just a lot of overhead here in terms of GEX. But what can be suppressive will also be an accelerant to the upside. So just keep this in mind. Basically, just keep a mental note. 6850 is kind of your flip, and you have support to the downside and resistance to the upside. Okay, so when you say, okay, like, all right, interesting. For me, when I'm trading, well, let's pull up my levels, right? And what do we know, right? So what we know from yesterday's trading, it was kind of choppy. We didn't really get pronounced moves. We got like some pretty good action throughout the day to the upside, but it was really hard to. I didn't trade it well. It was actually pretty tough, right? Like my morning plan had reclaim at 26, push higher, but I actually thought it would break down. It was just a hard day of trading, frankly. So what do I expect today? I honestly expect it to be a little tough, but if you look at where SPX is trading right now, it's trading right at 68.62. So what we could probably see is we'll probably push down a little bit here to 56. Anywhere in this like 56 to 44 zone is going to be a little choppy, right? And so if we should push down below 68.62 at some point today, ideally into the open. I mean, we're pretty close there right now. And if we can hold and bounce off 56, I'm not sure I would long it because we kind of have this weird zone. But if we can push up above 68, you could try and squeeze out a few points there. So let's just kind of refresh my plan. Through 68.62, we could see 68 and 68.75. But the best trade, and that's why I was kind of stuttering on the chart. The best trade is 68.75 to 6,900. So if you look on a GEX profile, you can see 75.80 is where most of the GEX sits. And once we get through, we could really push up. My levels and supply demand, you can say, okay, if we can push through here at 75, we can likely squeeze up. I mean, it's still going to be a little choppy, but we can squeeze up to 6,900. That's definitely on the cards today, on the table, in the cards. Anyway, it's definitely possible. So I would look for trading the long side anywhere above 62. Trade to the long side to 6,900. Just be aware it's kind of choppy and it's not going to be super fun, easy, clean trading. It's not just going to be a straight shot. And then on the flip, you have 37. That's going to provide pretty good support, and you could short it down to 26, 19, 14, 07, 08. One really interesting thing to know before we get into the market open is if you look at the GEX profile, you can see there's actually not a ton of support below 6,800, right? Like 6,800 big wall. But if we can push down below 6,800, it's going to provide a pretty massive short. And if you guys have been listening to me for a while, today for a while, whatever, I favor upside medium term, but what I really want to see, and I don't know if I'll get it, what I really want to see is I want to see at some point a retest of 18, 66, 18. I don't know if we get that. That's what I want. And the reason why is we have this kind of golden rule situation where 66.18 is a really important level and we gap through it. And that doesn't work for me, right? Like we can't just kind of skip over supply demand levels we have so far. So who knows how long it pronounces. Anyway, for today, if we break below 6,800, totally expect 67, 64 to be tested. And then maybe we get the 67.26. Maybe. Wrong tab this whole time. Oops. All right. So anyway, this is what I was drawing out. So we have 66.18. We have this gap here the golden rule gap that I want to get filled. We have 67.26, which is a critical level. That's basically when the CTA buying took into place around 67.07. 67.26 was an accelerant, and then beyond 67.64 it just went insane. So market's about to open. Let's pull this up and see what we are going to get. Let's remove these drawings. Things can change in a moment's notice. We want 62 to breach. So the safest way to trade this is to wait for a retest of 62 after it breaks through, or even a retest down to the 8 EMA here. But again, like we know, I mean, they really lit up. 69.40 is getting lit up right now. Okay, interesting. Look, okay, this is pretty interesting. 68.20, look at this flip, right? 68.20 just got lit up, and then put premiums got lit up. So that's why, it's a good thing we waited for 62. I know I sound like I flip-flop, but who cares? If I don't enter a trade, then it doesn't matter, right? Like patience is a virtue. So because of this, I'm like, okay, well, good thing we waited. 68.20 just got lit up. Okay, and what's interesting, right, is as we were talking about that, we just saw SPX get destroyed here. If VIX can pop through 1626, and that's why, have to be kind of pretty versatile in how we're trading this, right? You can't just say, oh, it looks good. Let's buy calls. No. And that's why having these levels is really important, right? Because everything did look good, right? It met all my criteria for being good. But I didn't want to buy ahead of this important level. And you can see why levels matter, right? Like, look exactly where SPX topped out here. Now the open, right? Like, forget that, right? Like, as we kind of moved out of the open, okay, wow. Hold on. Let's kind of load up some puts. Again, I'm gonna talk about it and like kind of speak my mind of what I'm interested in, but until I trade anything, just kind of take what I say. I don't want to say loosely, but it's not set in stone until I trade it, right? Okay, I'm gonna add a lotto here, kind of a lotto, kind of a trade, small size, 6,800 puts. Let's see what I get filled at $3. Okay, so far that trade's working out, but obviously way too soon to tell. But you can see like everything looked good to the downside. I would have sized bigger if we broke key levels and I was more certain about the trade. But it was good enough for a lotto size trade because it can bounce back pretty quickly. Okay, so far this is looking good, right? Let's take a look at premiums. This was my clue, right? When you see Gex get lit up at a lower strike, um, that's a big clue. Now, it still looks interesting up here at 69.40. I am a bit curious about that. Um, but you have this put spike, call drop. Again, I'm not big, I'm not size big here, right? Like pretty small size. Um, because we're still in this uptrend. But anyway, I think we'll head down in a beautiful world for at least for the puts that we're in. Wow, look at GEV. What a nice trade. For the puts that we're in, like, can we see 6,800 today? Yeah. And if we see lower, we can see another 120 points lower from here. Um, I wouldn't bet the house on it, but I would definitely bet something on it. Okay, this should start moving down. Look at tick, look at VIX. This is all setting up really nicely for the downside. So look at VIX here pushing through resistance. Look at tick here pushing down. We still have this 88-minute candle holding up decently well, and like a lot of names are holding up. But that we should see this go lower. So let's see if we get that. Hold on, I'm gonna switch rooms. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm still here. I spilled coffee on my computer, so give me another second. But puts are working. Okay, I'm mostly back. Give me a sec.